Now, let's see the definition of inverse cosine. So this is notation for inverse cosine. Okay, and this is the graph. So you can see that this is a sinusoidal graph as well, from minus infinity unto infinity for the domain. And if you do a horizontal line test, definitely you will fail the test, okay, because you have touched at more than 1 point. So what you need to do is we need to restrict the domain. So now we will do a bit differently than inverse sine, because for inverse sine we have cuts from minus pi over 2 until pi over 2. We cannot do that here, because if you do that, you still will fail the horizontal line test. That's why we adjust a little bit going to the right. So the restricted domain will be from 0 until pi. Okay, if you would translate the graph, this is the graph here. So if you do horizontal line test, you will pass the test because you will touch at most 1 point here. So if you write in terms of a definition here, y is equal to cos x is 1 to 1 when we restrict the domain from 0 until pi included, and the range will not be changed from minus 1 until 1. If you write in terms of quadrant, you are now allowed to be in quadrant 1 from 0 until pi in quadrant 2. So if your cos is positive, definitely you are in quadrant 1, and if your cos is negative, definitely you are in quadrant 2. Okay, quadrant 3 and 4 does not exist in our world right now. Going to inverse cos, so let's translate this line here, reflect about the line y equal to x. So this will be your graph. Okay, now let's see the definition of inverse cos. So x is equal to inverse cos y. So now let's read the domain here for y. Y must be within a negative 1 until 1 included. Range is 0 from pi. We just make it vice versa. Okay, we just flip from domain and range from y equal to cos to inverse cosine. For the properties, inverse cos of cos x will be equal to x, okay, if the domain is being taken off, okay. So the domain here for x, we need to take care of cos. So the domain is from 0 until pi included. And if vice versa, cos composed with inverse cos x, so you need to take care of the inverse cos domain. So this will be equal to x if your x is within negative 1 until 1. Okay, so as I mentioned before, to solve for inverse, you need to let y as that inverse. So let y as inverse cos 0. Now let's change to cos of the opposite. So cos y is equal to 0. Make sure, please take care of your domain. It must be within 0 until pi. So we need to think, what if the angle, when we get cos of the angle, you get 0. So we know that it is pi over 2. So pi over 2 is within the domain allowed, is within 0 and pi. So let's take the answer to be pi over 2. For question B, inverse cos sit 2 over 2. So straight away, let y as inverse cos sit 2 over 2. And let's change to the opposite side. Cos y is equal to sit 2 over 2. Take care of the domain. It must be from 0 until pi. So now we need to check the angle. What is the cos of that angle to be set 2 over 2? That the angle is pi over 4, and pi over 4 is within the domain here. So we can take the answer as y equal to pi over 4. Therefore, that is your final answer. So things is a bit complicated here. Inverse cos negative half. So let's see this together. Let y as inverse cos negative half. Change to y, the opposite side. So cos y is negative half. Okay, and then let's see here your domain. Please write this as a precaution. It must be within 0 until pi. So we need to think, what is the cos of the angle to get negative half? So we know that if this is negative, the angle you're allowed to be is quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. If cos is negative, definitely you are in quadrant 2. So now let's find our reference angle first. Okay, so we know how to find reference angle. This is the angle without the negative sign. So inverse cos of half, okay, I put the modulus here. This is pi over 3, so this is your reference angle. So we need to read our answer from 0 to here, the positive angle. So let's do the calculation there. Pi minus pi over 3, so this is 2 pi over 3. Okay, so this is your angle here, 2 pi over 3. Therefore, now let's check. Is 2 pi over 3 is within the domain? Yes. Okay. So we can accept the answer. Therefore, let's conclude inverse cos negative half, the answer will be 2 pi over 3. Now let's see for question D, inverse cos of negative 5. Okay, so let y as inverse cos negative 5 first. We need to take care of the domain for inverse cos. We know that it must be within negative 1 until 1. So negative 5 is way back before negative 1. So just write your answer as undefined.